Okay, so it's 5:30, so I'm going to call special meeting number 12 to order. We'll start this meeting by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Chris, if you would take the roll, please.
Councilmember Reed,
Here.
Councilmember Galloway,
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Here.
Councilmember Dupre,
Here.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Here.
Mayor Foote.
Here. And just to clarify, this meeting is special meeting number 12. This is not the normal city council meeting. This is simply a public hearing for the property tax levy. So I just wanted to clarify that. The actual council meeting will start at 6. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So approved. So approved.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed property tax levy for the city of Ottumwa fiscal year 2026-2027.
So I declare the opening of the public hearing, and Finance Officer O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As required by Iowa Code, a hearing on the proposed tax levies must be held separate from the public hearing on the proposed budget and separate from a regular meeting. Taxable property valuations increased by 4.86%. However, the consolidated general fund levy revenues were limited to 2.8% with an automatic adjustment to the levy. Other individual levies have changes due to rising expenses that are paid through those levies, and the changes are as follows. For general fund, consolidated general fund levy, current levy is 8.51942, proposed levy fiscal 27, 8.35237, which is a 1.96% reduction, with revenue increase of $171,827, or a 2.88% change. Fund 112, which is employee benefits, current levy 7.61617, proposed levy of 7.65162, an increase of 0.47%, with revenue increase of $289,434, or 5.43%. Risk management, Fund 129, current levy 0.79362, proposed levy 0.88558, which is an 11.59% increase. Revenue increase of $95,038, or 17.10%. Debt service 200. The current levy is 4.06475. Proposed levy is 0.06087, a reduction of 0.1%. Increase in revenues of $183,220, or 6.17%. Total current levy is 20.99396. Proposed levy is 20.95044, which is a 0.21% reduction. Revenue increase total $739,519, or a 4.99% increase. It should be noted that staff was required to submit the property tax levy hearing notice by March 5th. This was prior to our budget work session on March 10th. The submitted levy was 21.42155. Several changes were made as part of the March 10th meeting that reduced the property tax levy to an estimated $20.85. Further changes were entered to reflect possible increases in police and dispatch wages and the addition of 2 current employees to the city's health plan that increased the benefits levies. That makes the current proposed tax levy 20.95044, or a reduction of 0.04352. There was a misprint. It's not 40 cents, it's 0.04352 from fiscal 26. So what are the tax levies paying for? In the general fund, $6,147,538 directly goes to the general fund for operations. An additional $4,770,183 is transferred from Fund 112 for benefits. This is 70.28% of all tax revenues received. The general fund includes all public safety operations, community development, building and code, parks and recreation, and general government. Employee benefits. The remaining $835,958 is transferred to the airport, library, and cemetery funds for employee benefits. Tort liability, $650,925 for property and liability insurance for the general fund, library, and cemetery only. Debt service, $3,154,439 for GO debt obligations. An additional $1,808,590 is transferred into the fund to pay for or partially pay for certain specific debts. And that $1.8 million is non-tax dollars. Those are transfers in from enterprise funds or tax increment financing in order to pay a portion of bills. So what is the increase to a home valued currently at $100,000? A calculated valuation increase by taking the residential property valuation for this year minus last year and then dividing by the current year, you would see a 7.54% increase roughly. So that would make a home valued at $100,000, $107,540. The taxable valuation after you apply the residential rollback, and this is without any other exemptions, is $47,925. With the proposed tax levy, the annual increase is $8.27 or a monthly increase of 69 cents. For home valued at $300,000, the new valuation would be $322,620, a taxable valuation of $143,744, an annual tax increase of $20.80 or a monthly increase of $2.07. It should be noted that this is the city's portion only. So what all the other taxing entities add to this will be the individual tax bill of the property owner. I did also calculate the effect on commercial property, doing the same method that I did for the residential valuations. Commercial properties had an 8.81% increase. So a property valued at $150,000 would now be valued at $118 with a taxable valuation of $93,677. That is because the first 150 is taxed at the residential rollback rate and the remaining is taxed at 90%. The annual tax increase would be $291.31 or a monthly increase of $24.28. A commercial property valued at $300,000 would now be valued at $326,430. Taxable valuation of $229,964. Annual tax increase of $499,038 or $41.62 monthly. Any questions on those numbers as I read those off? Okay. So what were the reasons for the increase? Property and liability insurance increased due to reappraisal of facilities and equipment to better reflect current replacement cost. Health insurance premiums will rise by 12.8%, necessitating an increase in the benefits levy. Additionally, it's become necessary to level for benefits for employees in the road use tax fund. In fiscal year 27, 1/4 of the benefits costs are levied for. An additional 1/4 of the benefits is being funded from insurance reserves. Future budgets will need to start bringing that levy up to 100% of expenses. The general fund portion of the benefits levies is reduced by around $100,000, and the cost of benefits is not fully covered by the levies. This is in part to the city's efforts to meet the levy reductions mandated by the state of Iowa in House File 718. The consolidated general fund levy must be at its maximum in order to levy for benefits. The reduced benefits levy amount is equal to 0.139 cents in fiscal year 26 dollars. I open it up for questions and comments from the public.
So is there anyone from the public that has any questions or comments? If not, anything from council?
Mr. O'Donnell, I
Yes,
think
sir.
either my ears weren't working or you misstated the amount. If you owned a home worth $300,000, the annual tax increase, I thought you said was 2080 and it's actually 2480.
Correct. 2480, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So how did we avoid, doing the 100% this time? Explain that more to me there.
For the road use tax departments?
Yes.
Yes. So we do have sufficient reserves for our, to cover our self-employment or self-insurance costs. And so what I'm doing is last year I took 1 quarter and from reserves and budgeted into the general or into the road use tax fund. This year it's levying 1/4, using 1/4 of reserves. Next year I expect to go to 1/2 and 1/4, and then 3/4 and 1/4, and then in the final year 100%. What I didn't want to do is drop 100% on it and shoot that levy up astronomically.
Right.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Hopefully there's a lot more questions because you cannot start the next meeting until 6 o'clock.
I know.
So there'll be some dead air here.
I can come up with a question.
I just have more of a comment, kind of for future, I think I made a comment at not the last meeting, but the meeting before that, of just making sure that we're making and planning for the future and not just today and not just this budget cycle. But I would like to make sure that we continue looking at ways to manage these costs, whether we're looking at different like liability insurance or things like that. So that, and having those conversations, I know that we're meeting or we have a quarterly report out, but just maybe more frequently too, so that we are being very transparent and being honest with us up here and with the public at where we are. But I'd like to see those conversations happening throughout the year and not just when we're a couple months out to council, to our budget cycle too.
And at the previous work section that we had, not last week, but the week before, I did indicate that once we get this settled,
Sure.
right, that we will immediately start having to have conversations about future years.
Yeah.
So,
So it's interesting to me that our increases are all due to insurance rising.
correct.
And
Providers.
And what I hope is that the property insurance will level off a little bit. In previous years, what you saw was some increases from ICAP because they were still trying to recover from the multiple derechos that hit the state from 2020 to 2022. So they were trying to recover their losses there. This year, the increase was strictly based upon the fact that they did an appraisal of all the buildings and of the vehicles and brought them more towards what the actual replacement cost was. For example, a fire truck that now costs over $1 million was valued at less than $800,000 or less, somewhere around there. So certainly we needed to bring the value up on that if we wanted, if something happened to that fire truck, and we needed to provide an insurance claim.
so that's the idea, is to always do try to get to a full value insurance.
Not necessarily. There are some, and we'll continue to review this. There are some structures that that are at 100% that may not suffer a catastrophic loss. For instance, some of the parts of the wastewater treatment facility are underground or in the ground deep enough that likely they will not suffer a catastrophic loss. So you could possibly value those at 75% or 50% replacement cost, knowing that you may never have to have a claim on those.
Now you've jinxed us.
How long has it been since we had a claim on a building or a vehicle? Does that happen
Well,
fairly often?
we've had claims on vehicles. I can't remember exactly when the last one is, but we've had several in this calendar year. Minor ones. It might be something along the lines of they backed into something, or I know one of the ones that we had last year was they hit a deer, right? So we don't get a huge number of claims, but we do have several throughout the year. As part of the safety committee, we do a review on the incidents to make sure that if there was anything that could be done differently in order to prevent the accident, that we start implementing those things, so then we can avoid those in the future.
Yeah, I know you have to have coverage, and, insurance is just an ornery thing that we have to deal with, I guess.
Yep.
And Mr. O'Donnell, is the city responsible for insuring the train depot building?
Yes, because we own it.
And about how much could you guess that costs us annually?
Oh, annually? I would say that it's certainly less than, it could be somewhere around $5,000 or less. I can check for you and get that back, but I'm taking a stab in the dark.
Okay, that's not really important, and I know the exact number, but I think it is important that we make a decision to either rent it or sell it, so that we don't carry it around with us.
Correct. And I know that we've added one renter and are possibly looking at some others.
Thank you.
Sure.
Plus, we still rent to Amtrak.
Correct.
And the clubhouse has rental fees for, it can be rented out for parties and events. I think it's
Yes.
$150 for each time.
And the park in front gets rented out too.
Right. Multiple sources of income for the depot. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the levies? Again, anybody from the public? I have nothing else
Could I
then.
ask you
Yes, sir.
about borrowing? I know that the city, borrows money for projects. And like it's mentioned, a general obligation thing here. Is that monies that we borrowed from, excuse me, the state revolving fund? Or where does that money come from?
No, that's from the sale of bonds.
Okay.
It's from the sale of bonds. So, as you know, a month or so ago, we authorized the sale of general obligation bonds. That sale will occur within the next couple of months. We then receive those proceeds and then start paying them back.
So what kind of interest rate do we generally get?
It depends upon the market. I think these were projected somewhere around 4% as a rate. I can tell you that the rate of return right now, say from IPATE, is 3.4%. So expect that to be expect the interest rate that we pay larger than that. So again, somewhere maybe between 4 and 4.2%.
And since I guess we have a little time here, I don't understand how the inflation rate being, let's say, 4%, pulling a number, what does that do to our loan? If we're paying back about 4%, what's the inflation rate?
Again, it's dependent upon what prime is set at. Back in 2020, when COVID came along, you could get bonds at 1%. I know some were sold at 0.5% annual. So that's as close to free money as you can possibly get. Since then, of course, the interest rates have crept up. They've come back down a little bit with some changes with the Fed rate over the last couple of quarters. But again, I still anticipate somewhere around 4%.
The people that sell us the bonds are in it to make money also. So whatever they do includes what their fee would be.
Well, there is a fee for the bonding agent and attorney fees and for a financial advisor. But when we sell the bonds, that 4% is like, say I invested $1,000 in a bond. I'm going to get a 4% return on that bond when I bought it.
Okay, thank you.
The 12.8% increase for insurance for our health benefits, was that across the board, whether you were self-insured or it was a,
That is based a lot on our risk and usage. So we've had a couple of very high claims. Our self-insurance fund is still very healthy, but what Wellmark looked at was they looked at our usage history and then also some trends across the medical field as well.
so if we were in a different type of insurance rather than being self-insured, would it have gone up as much?
That I can't answer you. What I can say is that they might have been moderately lower. They could have been moderately higher. It's also going to depend upon our usage and the industry as a whole. When we looked at the pool, insurance pool, the amount was less than double figures, but some of the other costs that were associated with it made it not economically feasible for the city or for the employees.
I see, thank you.
Yeah, and there can also be outside factors that go into that. Like just recently, the state legislature passed a bill, which was signed by the governor, to add additional charges to Wellmark, which is the company that we utilize. Those costs will most likely get passed on to the end users. So next year we could see another double-digit increase. We just don't know the impact on that yet.
Right.
So if no other questions, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Chris, if you would take the roll, please.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes,
Councilmember Cavaness.
Yes.
So public hearing is closed. I'm going to take this opportunity to say some things that don't have to be said in the meeting.
Do we have to adjourn this?
Do we have to? Oh, yeah, we do.
Meeting.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So I need to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
yes.
Councilmember Cavaness.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say a couple things that I was going to put way at the end, so it'll save us time in the long run. Two things. One, last 3-4 weeks, I've been getting a lot of calls from the public on the good job that our public works people are doing, whether it be streets, sewer, all the different departments. So I just wanted to publicly thank them for the work that they've been doing. They've been doing good, hard work, and they've been doing it. People just say, yeah, they've been a joy to work with. So I just wanted to publicly thank them and the Public Works Department for everything they've been doing lately. The other thing, due to the storm the other day, there is disaster relief from storm damage. In fact, Governor Reynolds made a proclamation on the 2nd of April, lasts for 30 days. And so there is relief available to people who have had damage done to their home due to the storm. A couple things that you'd need to do. One, you could go and look at the website wapelloready.org/hail. And that will kind of outline how you can do that. The other thing is there is a disaster assistance center that is set up that would help you with the process. There is no guarantees. So if you go there looking for help, there are stipulations with that, and they can help you through that process. That center is located at 2431 Northgate, which is the REMAX Training Center. And those hours are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if you know of someone or have a home that was damaged in that storm, you have 30 days. I would encourage you to go there to the Disaster Assistance Center, have them help you through the process because there is relief available for you. So those are two things that weren't on the agenda that we can cross off my list. So with that, yeah, we'll just do a quick recess and come back to start the city council meeting at 6 o'clock.
These people work on. All right. You just knocked me off.
the way it goes.
This is it. Assuming we're going. Sorry. Travis, are we live?
Yes.
Good, okay. Is it 6:01?
Yes.
6. So at 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the city council meeting to order. We will start with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would like to participate in the invocation, you're welcome to stand, and then we'll stand for the pledge.
Honorable council members and members of our community, from our very first moment, we are blessed with breath. It carries us through every season of life, through joy and sorrow, through weariness and renewal. And with each breath, we are given time. Breath is what unites us, no matter where we come from, how we were raised, or who we are. We all share the same air. In this city, every one of us breathes together. Today, we recognize the time we are given is a gift and a responsibility. Those who serve this community have chosen to use their time, their energy, and their voices to become a guiding breath for us all. May that breath be one of wisdom in decision-making, patience in disagreement, and compassion in service. May it bring clarity where there is uncertainty and unity where there is division. And may the work done here today help shape a future where every member of this community can breathe a little easier. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Chris, if you would take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Here.
Councilmember Dupre,
Here,
Councilmember Cavaness,
Here,
Councilmember Reed,
Here.
Mayor Foot.
Here. So first on the agenda is consent agenda part 1. I'd entertain a motion to approve consent agenda part 1.
so moved.
Second.
And with this, I guess I'd ask if there's any questions or comments on the consent agenda.
I would actually ask that we vote that down and look to remove a few items from the consent agenda, like 5 and 6 and 10.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
So I guess I would amend the motion.
Do we have a second?
Do we have a second to that?
I'll second that.
So this is a motion to amend the consent agenda, removing items 5, 6, and 10. Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes,
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
So those items have been removed. So I'm going to do a new consent agenda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so with the new consent agenda, I'd entertain a motion to approve this new consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any other questions? Chris, take the
item
roll.
number 8, Your Honor,
Number 8.
in that consent agenda talks about applications for companies to have permits to work here in the city for repairing damage to storm that has occurred. I would suggest that someplace in this, it says they have to show proof of insurance to work in our city. Because if you have somebody to work for you, and then you have a problem and they're in Des Moines or Omaha, you have to pay a huge fee to get them to come back to Ottumwa. That doesn't seem like a reasonable thought to me. So anyway, that's my suggestion.
All this permit does is allow them to go to people's houses and offer an estimate or a quote. It doesn't necessarily solidify them into doing the work. If they were to do the work, then they would have to provide that to the person they're working for.
But we don't check. When they apply, we don't check
Correct.
that.
That's not a requirement of this permit.
Well, I've had several people come to my home and offer their services even before I had an estimate for repair. And my question is, are you local? And they say, oh, yes. I said, how local are you? Well, we're in Des Moines. Well, that's not what I call local. So then I tell them, I serve on the council. I will be looking for people who live within our community for local services. And then they do about face and walk away. But the bottom line is, if they can't prove insurability, they shouldn't be working on your property.
I just want to add on to Councilman Cabinet, as Barry say that, thank you for saying that with the local thing. The way to solve all this is just remember our local construction companies and rippers have taken care of us for years. So I personally would make them your first choice. I know other businesses want to come in from out of town and you know, they have to make money too, but remember our local contractors. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into this town forever. So I would just urge you to look there first.
Totally agree.
Just again, for clarification, this is just, this permit is to allow them to go to the different homes and provide estimates. It is not allowing them to do the work. The individual property owner would determine who they want to choose or who they choose to work with, whether they're local or not, or best price or whatever decisions they use. This is just to allow them the ability to be in town.
Yeah, we got that. It's just a canvasser permit. We
Right.
understand that. I just want to take that opportunity with Councilman Cabinet to throw in there to keep it local. That was just a good cue to segue into that.
I just hope people in our community are smart enough to know that you need to ask if they're insured before you let them work on your home. That's my interest.
So Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes,
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Next is consent agenda part 2. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda part 2?
so moved.
Second.
Questions? Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
yes,
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
No.
I just want to add in, I'm not going to go into detail. I did have a hesitation there because of one of the agenda items there that I was kind of questioning, but Chris cleared it up for me earlier. I just still have some concern.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
so moved.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
yes,
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
And I would turn it over to Administrator Rath for his report.
All right. I believe we've got two groups representing Ottumwa Leadership Academy who have presentations on projects that they're looking at proceeding with. And I don't know if you flipped a coin to decide who's going first. First to the podium.
Colby's going first.
All right. Colby Mercer and whoever else she has with her.
Thank you again for letting us present to you tonight. I am Colby Mercer.
I am Carla Rosa.
Orjan Kudal.
And part of our class project, we were tasked with the perception of Ottumwa. And you are first to know that lots of times on social media, there isn't some great and positive things that are posted. And so we are trying to give Ottumwa and the community something positive to post about. And our project is art installation project.
could you speak a little more directly into the microphone, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
I think so.
Okay.
You have to point it that way.
Oh, there it goes. So with this project, our goal is to create 20 art installations that will be around Ottumwa with the potential of adding more in the future. We hope to incorporate existing structures with permission with property owners, of course. And we hope to cultivate community pride, promote local tourism, engage in positive social media sharing. As we were going around kind of picking some spots that we thought this would work well with. We noticed that a lot of them were city properties, and so we're hoping to get your blessing for that today. There we go. So here are some examples of possible installations that we're hoping to do. These are on manhole covers. Again, these were ones that we found online as examples. There's some that are using some parking pillars. I'm not sure what that structure in the center one was. And then the third one is just a hole in a wall. Here's some more pipes and maybe a vent of some sort. And then again, as we were going around Ottumwa, these are some of items that popped out. So that first grate is in the alley behind Go Pip. The other two manholes are in Ballingal Park. We don't want to put them in a street where there's going to be a traffic jam. We saw some other potential in the downtown parking ramp area. The depot, the middle one there is the wall of Jefferson Street Bridge that is across from Main Street entrance. That third one is the bank building and Canteen Alley. We were also talking about doing some in the parks. We hope to spread them out around the town, so it won't be just directly downtown. With the art installations, we hope to make an interactive map that would locate all of the completed art installations. We would also include interesting facts along with those, spotlight nearby businesses. This is a fun and engaging way to explore, and we hope to come up with a creative hashtag, so when people find these and take photos, they can upload them onto their social media with the hashtag, so we'll see what they're doing. And with this project, we hope to spread positively one post at a time. So we are coming to you with your blessing to paint these on potentially city properties. Again, with your approval, once we find exactly which ones those are going to be, we will come to whomever you want us to have the final approval with that. I don't know if you want that to be Phil and Phil or yourselves, but we are open to any questions you may have for us.
Any questions from council?
So I guess we aren't able to give the approval tonight because it's, but I would say like the list that you started to do up there, if you could give a concrete list, probably get it to you, Phil Rath. Okay, and then we can go from there, I would say, right?
Yeah, I would encourage you to get a hold of our Historic Preservation Committee and make sure what you're wanting to paint isn't part of a historic installation, because we don't want to do that. I think you could also talk with Meet Ottumwa and Main Street Ottumwa and see thematically how you could bring all of that together. So
I actually believe this is a great project. Anybody that's got passion to beautify Ottumwa and changes the perception just warms my heart. All of you laugh at me for saying that if you want, but it does. There's so many ideas you could do with that, and especially with the additions. So I really appreciate the project idea. And one suggestion I would have, your idea is already great. I'm not, is remember when you look at Ottumwa history, I looked at that manhole cover, and Ottumwa being video game capital of the world, maybe you could do Pac-Man or Pac-Man Dot or something different things like that. I would also encourage you to look for sponsors downtown in the downtown area or other things like that and get other people involved. But this is an awesome idea. I know it has to go to an agenda, but it's something I support, and I love the idea. Thank you.
I know that you have put a lot of forethought into your presentation, and I like it. I would like to make a suggestion. I've talked about this in the past to other people, but downtown in front of every store is a pipe. It's a water pipe or a gas pipe or something that comes up in front. And my wife and I have discussed the possibility of getting permission to hang a wooden something on those with history, part of the history of Ottumwa on each one, recognizing that if you can hang them on, they can be stolen. But you know what? That risk exists all the time. So that's just a suggestion. I don't know if that goes anyplace or not, but thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have representatives? All right. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Amy Gardner, and I've been blessed to take part in the 2026 Leadership Academy. And tonight, I'm speaking behalf of a team that includes these talented folks behind me. We've been tasked with developing a community project that helps bridge cultural differences and address misunderstandings among all the diverse communities that call Ottumwa home. We're excited to say that our project also falls in line with the city's 2040 comprehensive plan to celebrate diversity. Our team has developed an initiative we've named Walk a Mile in Our Shoes. The concept is centered on the section of trail between Market Street and the Unity Garden, which we have highlighted here from Google Maps. In total, that section falls short of being just exactly 1 mile. It's about like 0.93. But along that stretch, we're producing a short video experience that trail users can watch or listen to as they walk. The video will feature the personal stories of several Ottumwa residents from different parts of the world. They'll share their journeys, experiences, and perspectives on life in our community. Our goal is to create an opportunity for people to quite literally walk a mile, 0.93, while hearing the voices and stories of neighbors whose backgrounds may be different from their own. Our hope is that the experience will encourage empathy, curiosity, and a stronger sense of connection across cultures. We come to you this evening to share this project and to ask for your approval on 2 matters. The first is to install 2 signposts, one at the trailhead near Market Street, and the other at the Unity Garden, which is up here first. So it's just outside of the Unity Garden that we have there now. And then there's a trailhead marker between Chief Wapello and the trail. That's where that arrow is pointing there. Okay. We've worked with Director Rathie to identify locations that are in compliance with the Army Corps of Engineers regulations that relate to the levee. And we've also made sure that we're not going to interfere with any underground infrastructure. The second request that we're making is that we ask that the council formally designate this section of trail as the Unity Mile. We've approached the Wapello County Trails Council about this concept, and we have received their blessing. The designation, however, needs to come from the City Council. The project promises to not only promote one of our community's greatest assets, our trail system, but it will also add an additional layer of connection and meaning to everyone who uses it. So, move forward. Assuming we would get your approval, this is just a mock-up of the signage that we have in mind, the Unity Mile, so people know when they're on it, and then the way that users will access that video, that sound and video clip, will be to scan a QR code. So we will take any questions you may have.
When wonderful idea, by the way. Another home run. When they scan that QR code, it tells them about people, different walks. Like, will the videos be random? Will there be a video of the month that is, how does it change?
I can't answer it, but we're all taking a share in this.
So we've pre-recorded different individuals from the community and from different nationalities. And so we will post those, and I think they'll be random as to how they will.
So this is a project that can be continued on with people, and could you do history from people from the past and people who are living, maybe interview them on that video and let them speak as well? I mean, you turned exercise and history. I mean, I think this is great. So I think, again, just like the last idea, I think there's a million places this could go to really better the community. So
yeah, today we showcased and interviewed 6 different individuals that we will be putting on our website to be able to listen to and start the walk. So, and this is something that our project will continue to put efforts into each year. So these are things that we can update and fine tune each year.
And these walks will spark the wanting to learn about other things, about people in Ottumwa. Great idea. Great idea.
Who's going to maintain your website after time?
So that will be tasked on our group.
Okay,
Yep.
it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Is this something you could pass on to a group to the next leadership academy and say, hey,
We would enthusiastically pass it on. And in case I haven't made it clear, there's no cost to the city for this signage or anything like that.
You may want to, I know if you go to the Air Museum and also the local museum, they do have interviews of different military people from our community, which is, when you hear them talking, it's quite moving. Just a thought.
So I think Councilwoman Galloway mentioned we don't have anything specific on the agenda for action items, but we can definitely put those on to the next agenda with council approval to take a formal action. Another thing, as far as an entity to maybe take on going forward, maybe the Human Rights Commission may be willing to, it kind of fits within their theme, informing, and so that may be a stop to pass it on to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So Administrator Rath, what I'm hearing is, but if you could get information to you, you would, both groups, then you would be able to put it on our next agenda, which is the third Tuesday of the month.
The 21st.
Thank you. And you need it by the Wednesday before, correct? Thursday before.
The sooner the
Yes,
better, but
Wednesday before,
by then at
Chris
least,
says.
yes.
No later than the Wednesday before.
You'll probably have it tomorrow.
Perfect.
Is there any other way of activating the device besides being able to hit the code? Some of us aren't bright enough to know how to do that. And we could hit a button pretty easy.
Sure. I know that QR codes, you love them or you hate them. They're kind of a contentious matter. However, thinking of the long-term feasibility and maintenance of this operation, the QR code was the most practical solution.
Okay. I'll learn.
I won't make you use one at a menu, I promise.
where they're stored? Is there a website where they can?
We're working with Main Street Ottumwa. Main Street Ottumwa and Legacy will host the video.
The reason I bring that up is maybe there could be a video of the walk, because people who may not be able to get out of their homes, if there could be a way for them to enjoy the history, the diversity in that walk as well would be, yeah.
Once the project is complete, we're really going to push publicity through different media channels and online as well. So we will get the word out to everyone we can so they can access that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job.
I didn't have anything else specific tonight.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to the agenda now. If you are here to speak on any specific item on the agenda, I would encourage you to fill out a slip of paper. They're in that basket on the banister. And then state which agenda item you'd like to speak to, and someone will get that up here so we can call you up when we get to that agenda item. So with that, we will move to the public hearing.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed amendment number 1 to the Vogel Urban Renewal Plan in the city of Ottumwa, state of Iowa.
So with that, I would declare the public hearing open. And Community Director Amal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, everyone. A couple of action items are for council consideration here tonight. They're related to the Alta Vista site redevelopment, and they're all necessary for the project to proceed. So I have 3 action items. The first one is a public hearing and an action to amend the urban renewal area plan. This is the Vogel Urban Renewal Area Plan. And the second one is a public hearing and approval of a development agreement. And the third one is a resolution to approve the development plan. So this map shows the location of the urban renewal area and the proposed project in relation to the overall city. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that site. It's zoned PUD. So this is the district. This is an urban renewal area district designated for economic development with the plight finding. Designation was done in 2018. The shape will show you the area marked with purple shading. This is the area boundary is East Alta Vista through Van Ness Avenue. It shows where the redevelopment project were proposed to happen. A little bit about that area. Our resolution was approved in 2018 to designate it as an urban renewal area. And then along with that designation, the city adopted an improvement plan. That plan authorized up to 2.5 million in tax increment financing, along with the infrastructure improvement proposed. At that time, the plan also authorized engaging in a development agreement to redevelop the area or the site where the hospital was into housing development for approximately 57 market rate housing units that include both multifamily and single family units. So tonight we're proposing to amend the urban renewal area plan. We're not changing the boundary of the district. We're changing some aspects related to the plan itself. And those are done to update the description of the project, since now we have a new or a different proposed project, and with updating the cost expected for authorized tax increment financing up to 1.5 million, and adding program cost or added the Build Ottumwa program as part of that improvement plan up to 150,000, and adding planning fees up to 25,000. Those are related to legal, planning, engineering, related to the district itself, any project in the district. And then those changes will reduce the overall authorized in the district from 2.5 to 1.675. So basically, you can say we're cleaning up the district to reflect what is happening today and to allow the existing or the proposed project to proceed. All of this under the purpose, the original purpose of the district, which is the economic development, and then allowing the redevelopment for housing to meet the current need, which is consistent with the purpose of the plan to begin with. And here the map shows where the project is being proposed, or the proposed project where it's going to be located. It's the 10 acres within the district. Background on the project, council may recall that July of last year, the city and partners pitched for a thriving community designation. And then in August of that year, council adopted resolution to designate funds for infrastructure related to housing projects to incentivize the development of housing. I believe at that time, the funds available for this were about 930,000. In September, the city did receive the Thriving Community designation, which allowed us to be eligible to receive, as a community, to receive workforce housing tax credits. And then since then, the city and partners have been marketing the Alta Vista site for workforce housing development. It's just the background on the proposed project. So now we're working with Build to Suit as a developer, proposed development to go under AV Ottumwa LLC to develop the site into market rate housing with community assistance. And the development complex proposed to be Vogel Heights to accommodate 58 units, a mix of housing types. So we're proposing approval of a 3-party agreement. We've been working on this agreement for a while now between GoPIP, Great Ottumwa Partners in Progress, and Build to Suit, or the LLC, and the city. This chart is kind of summarizing for you the role of each partner. GoPIP is the title holder of the property. So in the agreement, there are terms for transferring that property to the developer. Developer, in turn, would make the development happen along with the infrastructure associated with that development, and the city would reimburse the developer through or in the form of remediation grants that are allowed by the urban renewal area. And the developer would dedicate those infrastructure improvements back to the city. So I've summarized, it's a big document, but I tried to summarize that agreement for you here. Please feel free to stop me anytime if you have a question. Basically, in summary, GoPIP will grant the land contingent on development completion according to terms and conditions, and a developer would develop the housing and all associated infrastructure within 3 years. City will grant up to 1.88 million contingent on completion of the development according to terms and conditions in the agreement. Property transfer, GoPIP will convey the property as is for $1 contingent on approval of construction plans, proof of financing, and closing on the property by May 1st of this year. Developer obligations, the developer will make sure development happen, will do the planning, engineering, design, construction document, cause housing development via home builders or directly. They'll complete infrastructure construction by the end of this year, subject, of course, to weather delays. And they'll market lots and ensure at least 5 housing units are completed, comply with all laws, maintain records until we close out the project. They'll obtain building permits, financing, provide bonding and insurance, dedicate public improvement to the city. Payment will be depending on compliance and performance under this contract and verified costs. City obligation, the city will provide in the form of grants up to 1.88 million in blight remediation grants. Again, this is a brownfield. Would be reimbursed for eligible cost. Grants are paid in 3 phases, 25% at the start of the construction, 50% when the infrastructure part is completed and dedicated, 25% after 5 housing units are completed. Funding will come from city funds, potentially will be reimbursed from the district in the form of tax increment financing. So the city will be able to recoup that cost as TIF. This is the proposed plat, final plat, 58 units. As you can see here, we have 14 lots, single family detached, and 16 duplexes here to your left, and 28 townhomes. Timeline where we at. This is a milestone here tonight, approving the urban renewal area plan amendment to allow us to proceed, and approving development agreement. We're planning on groundbreaking end of this month and mobilizing first week of May. Bottom line for you, this is a priority project for the community. It has been a collaborative effort with all stakeholders involved, including county, Legacy Foundation, GoPIP, and the city, through all the phases prior, from environmental due diligence to this proposed development agreement. We've been working, I believe, over 8 months now, going back and forth and negotiations and tweaking those terms. And the deal is being made to stimulate growth and to meet housing needs, and also to perform under our urban renewal area plan. The proposed projects meet our current 2040 comprehensive plan goals, and it meets the urban renewal purpose stated in the area. And it does meet council strategic priorities adopted January of this year. Everyone in the team expects significant positive impact for this development. It's seen as an anchor, and we believe it's going to be a great investment in the community. Any question in regard to? I know this is maybe a lot, but it's straightforward.
So the 1.88 is approximately the cost of the infrastructure, which would, is that right? That would be streets and water, and
Sewer. Yes, everything. So 100% cost of infrastructure.
Okay.
Does this plan include sidewalks for each property?
It does, yes.
I just want to confirm that this 1.88 million does not come out of the general fund, correct?
Yes, it does not. And yeah, go ahead.
So originally we had excess bond funds that were supposed to be used for a levy project that we were going to dedicate to this project. On advice of the attorney, because those were bonding funds, and that the way that the deal was worked, it's a reimbursement to the developer, that the funds cannot be used in that manner. So what we will do is we'll take those funds and actually move them into 301, which is streets, and then we use local option sales tax, which can be dedicated for infrastructure and street construction, and then and divert that same amount from 301 to this project, plus the additional amount necessary for the infrastructure. There are some soft costs, because if you remember, the actual infrastructure costs were 1.66 million. There are some soft costs with that we will use reserves out of the Community Development Fund 174 in order to pay those soft costs.
Perfect. I just wanted to clarify that too, because, you know, we as council people and you as city staff will get asked that question. So I wanted to clarify that that's where that funding is coming from. I also just want to note, I think that this is a fantastic project. I think that a lot of work has been put into this, and I give a lot of props to GoPIP and Legacy Foundation for the time, the hours that they have put in this, not over the last 8 months, but over the last years. The creative thinking that they have done to be able to get us to where we are, to the developers who have jumped on this project. I really thank you all. And I appreciate the work that you all have done, and the city staff too. and county. I see you there too, Darren. I gotcha. I truly appreciate this project. And one of my comments is I'm glad to finally see this project moving. It's been kind of since I jumped on council, that one thing we wanted to get done, and to be able to see where we are today, I am greatly appreciative. And I think our community will be even better with the completion of this project.
Mr. O'Donnell, if we put this into a TIF that doesn't actually generate any money for the city, I'm still confused about where the money's coming from.
Well, it's going to be a combination. It'll be a combination of for the development agreement. It'll be a combination of local option sales tax for the infrastructure, and then reserves from the community development fund for the soft costs. At a later date, we could, once the development starts to generate property valuations, we could recover the soft costs and even some of the infrastructure costs back, and then replenish the reserves in 174. And then I'd have to check with the attorneys to make sure that we could then also use what we recover either for the next project, or divert it back to 301 for road construction throughout the city.
Basically, we will be borrowing from city funds, and we can reimburse the city back through a TIF over time. So after this development agreement approved, we can propose a reimbursement resolution for the city to be able to pay itself back over time.
Okay, bottom line is, I think I understood what you said. You're going to be borrowing the money from the city to start generating the project. That's assuming the city has money to loan you.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So local option sales tax fund that is dedicated to infrastructure. That's
Yeah. So bottom line is there are funds on hand to put into the infrastructure for this project, not borrowing any additional dollars or anything else. If the city at a later date, the city council wanted to recover those costs, they could look at utilizing the urban and rural area, which is already created, to do that. Or with this new growth, add that to the tax base and use that for future general fund and other things. So it's not a requirement. It could just be an investment into the growth of the community.
Why couldn't we bond for some of this?
You could, but at this point, you don't need to.
One of you, I can't stand. You can't hear both of you. So one of you has to answer.
Yeah, go.
Because it's a developer's agreement, and we're doing it as a reimbursement, it becomes a little more difficult to do the bonding. It's much cleaner if we use our reserves, and we're able to move forward much more quickly. In order to do the bond, it would be another 2 to 3 months, and the developer wants to get going by 1st of May.
Yeah. So
we could, but we're also aware of the impact on the levy. And if we have cash on hand, why not use the cash and then basically borrowing for ourselves and recoup that later?
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to ask any questions or make any comments?
So taking from these reserves isn't going to hurt us in any way?
Say that again.
Taking from the reserves isn't going to hurt us down the road in any way?
No, because like I said, what it is we have the bond funds that we can shift from the levy project to the street projects. So the 301 will be made whole. And so it doesn't hurt us down the road. There are sufficient funds in 174 for community development that can be used on these soft costs as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. O'Donnell, when you give us those numbers, could you add to it what it represents? I don't know what 301 or 708 or whatever.
Well, Fund 301 is the street capital improvement fund. 174 is community development.
Okay, thank you.
we're coming to a close to this. I just wanted to add a comment. I don't want to echo everything Councilperson Galloway said, but I kind of do. I just wanted to thank the people who've been involved in this. I know this was hard work, and I do believe this project is not a tiny step. This is a huge step for Ottumwa, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for not only housing and quality housing for people to live, but for contractors, education, local stuff. So I think this is a huge leap forward that I fully support. So I just want to appreciate everybody who was involved. I know it was a long time getting here, but now we're at that light at the end of the tunnel. So
Are we generally in compliance with all the neighbors in the neighborhood who are not opposed to this? Or is everyone okay with it?
Well, we heard from the neighborhood, and we heard more comments at the P&Z, and we believe we accommodated because we made sure, as staff, we made sure we reviewed the proposed to make sure everything is according to our code, according to our standards, and based on that review, the development got approval.
Okay, I was at the meeting at the club, and although you showed a lot of pictures and had a lot of conversation, I didn't get much out of that. So I guess I have to apologize if I wasn't understanding what was going on.
Well, people asked a lot of questions, and the focus was on the need for housing and the city's approval process. People asked about setbacks and whether this is not going to be in conformance. We made sure that we explained to them that everything is going to comply with the code. All the properties will be set back according to the code. We heard complaints about the density, the overall density is appropriate compared to the neighborhood. We made sure we explained and clarified about the property.
Okay, well, I guess the bottom line is if there was someone that doesn't like what's going on, they ought to be out here in this group.
Correct. And tonight is a public hearing. Anybody in the public can comment, and we will address those comments.
Thank you.
my impression of that meeting was there was some, I agree with Councilman Cavanagh, but I think it was more concerns, not complaints. I think it was just concerns, and they were valid concerns. So I don't think there's any negativity, that I would hope not, because that adds value to that. I mean, you're getting great neighbors, you're getting great housing, you're getting, that's going to open up other opportunities, right there in that area. So I thought my impression of that meeting is that it went well.
Yeah. And I believe, I want to say it was about $275,000 average for the home. And Mr. O'Donnell had mentioned earlier in the first meeting, our average was $77,000 a home right now. This will add great value to that. 58 homes at $275 a piece, roughly at 1.68 million or something like that dollars added in new valuation. So that'll be huge.
Mayor Lazio, did you want to speak?
Thank you. Good evening. Tom Lazio, 2301 North Court. Having sat in that chair before and this project was initiated, I think it's a great conclusion tonight to hear that we have the collaboration of many community organizations, the city, GoPIP, Legacy, the county. And I was at the meeting that you're referring to at the country club. And I thought that Bill DeSuit did a great job of explaining and answering questions, and they took concerns and criticism. And they also suggested that we drive up and look at the development in Oskaloosa, which my wife and I did do. And I'm pleased to say it was a very worthwhile trip, and certainly supports the fact that they do good quality work, and I think would be a great addition to our community. And I appreciate Kara's comment about separating the finances, because this is totally a TIF project, which is not going to affect the general budget right now. So you got to keep those two things separate. But I think it's a great investment, something we've needed for a long time, and it's in compliance with our comprehensive plan, so I would hope you would vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, have we received any letters or emails in support or against?
I have not.
Outside of meetings, I have not, and we've held a consultation meeting with the taxing jurisdictions. We have not heard any comments to date.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close. Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 70, 2026, determining an area of the city to be a blighted area and that the rehabilitation, conservation, redevelopment, development, or a combination thereof of such area is necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, or welfare of the residents of the city, designating such area as appropriate for urban renewal projects and adopting amendment number 1 to the Vogel Urban Renewal Plan. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 70, 2026.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any other questions? Otherwise, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposal to enter into a purchase, sale, and development agreement with Greater Ottumwa Development Foundation and AV Ottumwa LLC.
So with that, I declare this public hearing open. And so Amal.
I don't have any more on the presentation, but I'll take any questions if anybody has.
Any other questions for Community Development Director Amal?
So just spell out exactly what this one is doing.
This is the public hearing on the agreement. This is a three-party agreement. GoPip already, the board heard and discussed and approved this agreement. Now it's our turn. The developer has signed the agreement.
So it's just
Now-
an agreement to do these things that you're showing. One's going to, the land's going to move here and money's going to be provided there. And
Correct.
so it's just an agreement to do it. Okay.
Correct. And if you want to focus on city obligation, that's what's in the agreement.
So a question of clarification that came to me from several people in the public is, why is Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress the name on the agreement instead of the city of Ottumwa or the county or Legacy?
Yep. So the GoPip Foundation, and I see Mark is here, they're the ones that own the property currently, and that was a coordination between the four entities that you mentioned, the county, city, GoPip, and Legacy. And I see Mark Rowe walking up here. But that's why GoPip Foundation is there. It's the purchase development. They have that part of it. And
Mr.
Go ahead.
Rowe.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So to answer your question, this really goes back to on or about June of 2023, when we were approached by the Ottumwa Regional Health Center to do the transaction for this property. And when the four entities, the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Greater Ottumwa Development Foundation, and the Legacy Foundation agreed to do a four-way ownership group for this, it really came down to when we discussed this with Allers Cooney Law Office, how this property will ultimately end up being titled. The conversation with respect to the governmental entities, the city and the county, there really wasn't an appetite for the city nor the county to hold that property in their title, primarily because of holding costs, cost of maintenance, things like that, liability. And with Legacy Foundation, it really isn't in their scope to hold property. So that left it with Greater Ottumwa Development Foundation being a 501c3 operation that we would hold title to that property.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And also because the economic development arm would be the perfect home for something like this.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? Did we receive any other correspondence in regards to these resolutions? letters, emails, or anything?
No.
I did not either.
Okay. With no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second?
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yep.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 71, 2026, approving and authorizing execution of a purchase, sale, and development agreement by and among the City of Ottumwa, Greater Ottumwa Development Foundation, and AV Ottumwa LLC. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 71, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 72, 2026, approving the planned unit development concept plan for the Alta Vista development. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 72, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the 2026 Asphalt Street Repair Program and awarding the contract.
So with this, I would declare this public hearing open. City Engineer Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this project consists of overlaying streets in an area generally south of Albia Road and west of McKinley. The street schedule for overlays are Skyline Drive, Finley Avenue, Gladstone Street, Lake Drive, Richmond Avenue, Greenwood Drive, Wilder Drive, Minneopa Avenue, and McKinley Avenue. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on April 1st at 2 p.m. One bid was received. The low bidder was Norris Asphalt Company of Ottumwa, Iowa, in the amount of $1,281,123.48. Asphalt prices were lower than in the past under the new bidding format, which we anticipated. But there was also a lower milling number than what we received in the past. We expected a little bit lower milling number, but the milling number was a lot lower. And this accounted for the difference between what our estimate was and what the bid we received was. So I think this just goes to show that defining the project ahead of time and giving the contractor certainty on what they had to do really helped them have more certainty in the cost and give us a better price.
Sure.
So we're really pleased with our number here.
Good. So any questions or comments? Remind me again, what was the budget number we had for this?
Oh, sorry. The estimated cost was $1,570,000. So we're almost $300,000 under budget. Like I said, it was almost all milling cost was the difference.
Okay.
I like when that happens.
Is there money still set aside for patching streets and working on?
Yeah.
areas
So
that need?
we don't have a patch. So this fund is only for contract street projects. And we have a big enough list. I think we can find money for the rest of that money we saved here. We'll put it to use somewhere else. The patching we do with our local, our in-house patch crew, that's out of the gas tax for road use fund, which uses gas tax money. This is more lost money over here. And it's a capital fund instead of a operational fund, I should say.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
This is a public hearing, so is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? And then just, if none, was there any other correspondence, letters, emails that we received in support or against this?
I did not receive any.
Okay.
No.
So if no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 76, 2026, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2026 Asphalt Street Repair Program, and awarding the contract to Norris Asphalt Paving Company of Ottumwa, Iowa, and the amount of $1,281,123.48. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 76, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2026 Water Pollution Control Facility Vertical Loop Reactor Gate Installation Project and awarding the contract.
So I declare this public hearing open. City Engineer Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this project consists of replacing 5 gates in the VLR, which is the vertical loop reactor at the wastewater treatment plant, 1 gate at the diffuser, and then 1 gate at the Walnut Pump Station, along with some vane repairs in the vertical loop reactors. Bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on April 1st at 2 p.m. We received 2 bids. The lowest responsible bidder was Woodruff Construction of Tiffin, Iowa, in the amount of $94,200. This was the same contractor that installed a set of 5 gates for us back in 2019 as well. This project came in about 25% above our estimated costs. I spoke to the contractor and kind of asked what their idea was, because I thought I had a lower estimated cost for the VLR gates because they're all in one spot, and I thought it'd be a little bit lower number than the other gates. And they thought that with had they done the project before, with us having to pump the VLRs down, we can't get them quite dry, and having to put scaffolding in that, the productivity on those gates is a little bit lower than the other ones. So I didn't anticipate that, and their reasoning was reasonable. So anyway, that's where the 25% difference in cost came with. So with that being said, I still recommend that we award the contract to Woodruff Construction.
Any questions or comments?
Even with the 25% increase from our estimate, you have that in the budget to be able to cover that?
Yeah, so it comes out of our capital items budget for wastewater. We have a $528,000 available before this contract will be signed. It's for $94,200, which leaves $434,219 left in that fund. And you're going to hear some backwards numbers because when I calculated that, I'd calculated the last item on my list to put up here too. So the numbers aren't in order, but they're correct.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this agenda item? And again, did we receive any correspondence, letters, emails?
I received none.
Okay. So if no further questions, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 77, 2026, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2026 WPCF VLR gate installation project and awarding the contract to Woodruff Construction Incorporated of Tiffin, Iowa, in the amount of $94,200. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 77, 2026.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3256, 2026, an ordinance amending section 38-115 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa, to add recycling processing as a conditional use in the C2 zoning districts. Recommendation pass the third consideration and adopt ordinance number 3256, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Any questions or comments for our Community Development Director? If none, then Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3257, 2026, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 1, to provide the appointment and termination of department heads shall be subject to the approval of the City Council. Recommendation passed the second consideration of ordinance number 3257, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And yeah, with this, this is the second reading of this, and I thought I'd just go through real quickly to clarify again. This ordinance covers three parts. Each provide a level of accountability as a check or a balance in place with those elected by the voters of Ottumwa as being part of the decision of who is best to lead the departments of our city and then who is not. This is not to take away from the responsibility of the administrator, but instead provides the ability for representatives placed there by the voters to be in the decision process. So part one of this would be in regards to the city clerk department, meaning the city clerk and all those working under the supervision of the city clerk are to be appointed by the city council. That's per Iowa Code 372.13. This ordinance then would align with that state code in that appointment, supervision, and evaluation being by the city council. Part two of this ordinance then applies for employment with the city of Ottumwa as a director or department head. They would be recruited, evaluated, and interviewed by the city administrator. And then upon selection of those to be appointed by the city administrator, the appointment of each director or department head would then require approval by a majority vote of city council. So again, this places a check in the hiring process, providing accountability and authority of those hired to run the departments of the city of Ottumwa. And that then is determined by those that have been elected to represent the people of Ottumwa. In like manner, part three of this would be those needing to be terminated from employment with the city of Ottumwa as a director or department head after going through any and all necessary disciplinary training or correction processes per the city administrator. Then the recommendation of termination by the city administrator would require approval by a majority vote of city council. This again places a check or balance in the termination process, providing accountability and authority of those hired to run the departments of the city of Ottumwa, and is determined then by those elected to represent the people of Ottumwa. So with that, I would entertain any comments or questions.
I just have a point of clarification. So the city, maybe I misunderstood, but I think did you say the city clerk and those under the city clerk should be supervised or will be supervised by the city council?
Correct.
So this just says, the policy just says the city clerk. Unless I'm missing it in another place, and the staff summary just says city clerk too.
It defines the city clerk's office is what it's referring to, I believe.
You're right. It just says with the exception of city clerk.
So if it is the city clerk office, it ought to say that. That probably need to be revised.
So we just have to add office?
Yeah, that'd be my understanding. So yeah, if that's something that we want to add, then council would need to add that as a motion.
So the city council then would be supervising the city clerk and the secretary? They'd be doing the evaluations for both those individuals and,
Yeah, that's what,
or would the city clerk still be evaluating their own employee?
Yeah.
Because I think that's how it's written, is how Bill just described it.
Right.
So the
That's
city,
why it
yeah, the
doesn't say
city,
office.
yeah,
it
that's why
doesn't
it
say
just
office.
says the city clerk. So we don't actually have control, like we aren't doing the evaluation or the supervision of the person under you. So, but if we add office, then we would do both.
Right.
right.
Correct. So that's why
Yeah,
office
I
is
don't,
not in
that
there.
isn't the intent.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that from what's in here and what was identified too.
So do we need
Yeah.
an amendment or not?
So we leave it the way it is.
No, I think we leave it the way it is.
Yeah, leave it the way it
Okay.
is.
And my summary was, I misspoke. I am corrected.
Perfect.
Any other questions or comments? that, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Administrative hearing on complaint of a first tobacco permit violation by Casey Services Company for the permitted business Casey Store Number 7 located at 1001 East Main Street, Ottumwa, Iowa. This recommendation, we are actually not approving the order assessing penalty. So I'm going to read, because they sent the settlement agreement in yesterday. So this item is technically the same as what was approved in consent agenda. So it's consideration of acknowledgement settlement agreement between the city of Ottumwa and Casey Services Company doing business as Casey Store Number 7. So I know this it's probably confusing because they did not send it in time. So by the time the agenda, the packets and everything were done, it was already too late yesterday for me to amend the agenda. So this is authorizing the mayor to sign the order accepting the acknowledgement and settlement agreement. So that is technically what you guys are going to vote upon. And it doesn't technically need to be voted on separately, but since it was already out of consent agenda, that is why I'm going to go ahead and explain it. So I've got you all confused now. I know. I'm sorry.
Was there two violations that were, I mean, we accepted one and then there's this one, right?
So this one is actually the same as the other one now.
Okay.
Before it was not, but as of like 4:06 yesterday
But
afternoon.
when you say the same as the other one, it was two different violations at two different stores, correct?
That is correct. Yes,
On the same day.
that is correct.
Wow.
Two different stores, same chain, had sold tobacco to our minors.
That is correct.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the recommendation here for you guys and then motion and second, and then I can go in and read further the information if you guys are okay with that. So the recommendation is to approve the consideration of acknowledgement settlement agreement between the city of Ottumwa and the Casey Services Company for the Casey Store Number 7.
So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions?
Well, here I can, yeah, I'll read the discussion. That way you guys have the full experience of this item. So on February 11th, 2026, an employee at a local tobacco retailer sold a tobacco product to a person under the age of 21. This business was identified as the Casey's Store Number 7 at 1001 East Main Street. For the first violation of selling tobacco to a minor, the Iowa Code requires that the business be assessed a $300 civil penalty. The actual cigarette permit holder for the business has submitted a check to the city of Ottumwa in the amount of $300 and signed the settlement agreement, which is what I received yesterday afternoon after 4 p.m. The remaining process is for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign the order accepting the settlement. Does anybody have any questions? I don't know the answer to that.
The only reason I'm concerned is I promise I'm not going to get on a high horse, but we had two stores of the same chain, the same day at the same time, sell tobacco to our minors. And I've sat up here and I've defended people who sell liquor and sell tobacco because it's their right to sell, but this can't happen, that we can't sell. I mean, is anybody here from Casey's to explain? I mean,
No, they did not show. That's why they
they're
sent the
accepting the
settlement.
responsibility, and I get it, and I appreciate that they're accepting responsibility, but I take a hard stance on that, selling controlled substances to minors, and I only wish someone would have been here to explain how this can be corrected and, you know, what we're doing to keep our younger generation safe. Again, I appreciate they paid the fine. I appreciate they accept responsibility, but it is kind of disturbing to me that it was two stores on the same day that are different locations. So
It should be noted they did show up to court in person too.
like I
Did,
said, I
did they do
appreciate
any
that.
retraining of their employees?
Well, that's set by Kate. I mean, they have their training. I don't know what that looks like.
So we don't have any idea. Okay.
But you have to stop and remember too, a lot of times these gas station locations have turnover. So they might have different people each and every time that might, the training might not be as fresh as it once was.
Well, and I understand that they're corporate. A lot of it's handled at a corporate office too. But I will say when it comes to tobacco, liquor, or anything like that, there is absolutely no excuse for lack of training in that area. Some jobs, you just have to be right all the time. You just do. I mean, I know mistakes are made. I know we're all human, but I'm just concerned about our younger generation, the safety, and not just from them, just from, a lot more businesses, and I'm just concerned about it in general. So anyway, I'll step off my soapbox now.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Collective bargaining agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Teamsters Local 238 for the police. Recommendation approval of the final offer as outlined in authorization for execution of the updated collective bargaining agreement upon ratification by both parties.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
This is Kojo.
Thank you, sir. Our current collective bargaining agreement with the Ottumwa Police Union has a wage and insurance reopener for fiscal year 27 and 28. City of Ottumwa negotiating team and representatives of Teamsters Local 238 have reached a final offer for the successor collective bargaining agreement. Both parties have agreed to recommend the terms below for ratification by the City Council and the union membership. So this was insurance and wage reopener. For insurance, we would maintain our current contract, and wages, this covers both our police officers as well as our dispatchers, communication specialists. So for officers, it would be a 3.5% COLA effective July 1st of 2026, 3.5% COLA effective July 1st, 2027. Communication specialists would be 3% COLA as of July 1, 2026, a 2% COLA January 1 of 2027, and a 4% COLA as of July 1 of 2027.
I just like to add, this is a little different process than other ones, as HR Director Kojo had mentioned. We started out normally like you would, and we have initial offer, they have initial offer, and you go back and forth. And typically, you get a tentative agreement between the two bargaining units, and then a ratification by the one side, and ratification by the City Council, which we have coming up a little bit later here for the other couple bargaining units. This one, there's as was mentioned, the final offer presented by the police union. This is what they were looking at, I guess the next step would be mediation or arbitration if it's not agreeable with City Council. So it's a little different, but I think when you're looking at the comparables that were presented, it's kind of in line with the communication specialist. Both sides agreed that they were on the lower end for comparables. 3% I think would be the minimum that law enforcement would get. But for the efforts that they put forward, they was looking at, they believed, I think they were higher than that, and kind of said, well, okay, we understand the situation the city's in, but we really don't believe we can accept anything less than 3.5%, which is what you have here for consideration.
And this is just for officers and dispatch, right?
Correct.
So where do sergeants and then chief and lieutenants fit?
So they fall under our compensation handbook. So when the budget is approved, that's where those increases would fall under.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
So, it is a higher, a 3.5, and then if you just, take the dispatch and just a 2, it's about a 4.5 in a way. There's a purpose of that. I mean, retention, hiring, how much that comes into play?
All
by
of the
using-
above. It's kind of a combination of everything. One of the things when we, so I do a lot of research before we go into negotiations to pull data from other cities, neighboring towns, other entities, whatever that looks like. And one of the things that we did note was that our dispatchers compared to others were rather low. The wage on that we paid our dispatchers was low. We have not been fully staffed in dispatch, I believe, in the 5 years I've been here, at least. It's a very, very hard job. I know some of you have sat with them, the just constant that they do. It's a very, very tough job. It is a tough one to fill. We have had, I think, the last 3 or 4, they've gotten into the role, they've gotten into the training portion of it, and they've not made it out of that training portion of it. So it's kind of a combination of all of the above. We need to get our wages to where they need to be, but then we also need to, for the job that they do and everything that they have to work through, we need to be able to pay them and show them how much we appreciate what they do.
Yeah. So cost-wise, kind of as you mentioned, for the communication specialist, splitting it with the July 1, January 1, with a 3 and a 2, it blends to a 4, but it puts them at a little bit higher at the end of that year. So they're starting the next year at that little bit higher. So it helps catch up to, as HR Director Kojo was mentioning.
Any other questions? Okay, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, beach maintenance position. Recommendation, reinstate the beach maintenance position in the 2026-2027 budget.
Your motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Parks Director Ratchie.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am requesting to have the beach maintenance position reinstated in the 2026-2027 budget. During 2 discussions with the park maintenance employees prior to the March 10th City Council meeting, they indicated they would be willing to perform beach maintenance duties year-round. During the meeting I had with the parks maintenance employees on March 11th at 7 a.m., they indicated that they only want to do beach maintenance work until a full-time beach maintenance employee can be hired.
Any questions or comments?
I do once I find my page.
Okay.
How easy is it to find that kind of person? Can you find that kind of personnel to do that kind of maintenance fairly easy? Or is it specialized?
I know two people that are interested right now, including one current part-time employee. It's basically a general labor job that requires on-the-job training is what it amounts to.
So this would be a full-time position?
This is a full-time position, yes.
Okay.
This would be a good step for a part-timer, correct?
Yes.
Be a good step up.
So I have some questions. So during our meeting, when this position was cut, it was asked multiple times, are you sure that this position, that we don't need this position? And the importance of, like, are we sure that the staff can handle that? And I don't remember the exact words, but there was a comment made that in the past, since you've been the department head, that it's always been a part-time position and we did not need a full-time position.
Oh, this has always been a full-time position, this beach maintenance position.
I apologize, that we had part-time people who would be able to do this. And I understand the staff are saying that they would be okay doing it full or part-time until someone's hired. But I think it was confirmed, I think by you, that we didn't need the actual position, that we had the staff with the ability to do that. So I'm looking at, and I'm asking these questions because I'm looking at our budget and we need to cut things. We've cut this position and now we're having conversations about adding the position, which I think we've only cut $300,000 from our budget, correct?
Approximately, yes.
Yeah. So this would add, that would reduce that. So I'm really struggling adding this back onto our budget right now. So I guess it's more of a comment than a statement, or more of a statement than a question. because 50,000 of this is a direct hit to our general fund. And it's really hard for me to be able to say, yep, we can add this back on when we asked the questions, are we sure that this isn't a position that we don't need, that we have the people? So I am struggling with adding this back on.
Gene
In my opinion, I don't believe that Gene would ask for this if he didn't feel like he genuinely needed it. So I think we have to follow his recommendation.
Gene, or I guess Barb, be a question for you. If we offered it to the part-timer, then am I understanding would that be half the cost? Maybe if the part-timer was qualified to do the job. I'm not saying just give it to anybody. I'm just saying if it was a part-timer who already existed in the city, it would be kind of half the cost, or?
So right now there is no, there's no part-timer in the department other than a janitor. This is a civil service position, so we would have to go through the civil service process with it. So it would be adding that extra to that department right now.
So
I'm not familiar with who the part-timer or
Is
what
it in your
department.
department already, Gene, the part-timer that's interested, or what department are they in?
He's currently in the department, yes. But
So he would have
as
to
she said, he would have to go through the civil service process that any other applicants would have to go through.
So we go through the civil service process, we're okay there, then it's just like half the cost, right? Or
No.
close.
I mean, we'd have to add benefits, but then we would backfill that other position. If, like I said, the only position that we have in the department right now is a part-time janitor. If that part-time janitor is interested in this position, they would then also be afforded benefits, the increased salary, and then that would vacate the janitor position. I'm assuming that's who you're talking about?
Yes.
So then it would vacate that janitor position that is in the department that you currently have authorized. So we would either need to hire that janitor to fill that role, or we would do without that.
How many hours is the janitor position?
He works about 25 hours per week, year round.
And the pool maintenance position would be a 40-hour position, or maybe on call time. I don't know. Is it more than 40?
It would be a standard 40.
So by adding this back to our budget, what are we going to cut, or what revenue are we going to add so that we are able to do this? It's, again, $50,000 to, I think the total adds about $93,000 to the budget, about $50,000 to a direct hit to the general fund is what this is. So as a council, if we add this back into our budget, where are we going to make it up at? Because we've had a lot of conversations of we need to cut, where can we cut, that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not saying that this position isn't needed, but I'm saying we've already cut it from the budget. Now we're adding it back. So what are we going to cut, or where are we going to add revenue to make up for this?
And this is kind of like, I know there's comments out there talking about all these moving numbers with the budget. And honestly, when you start, we're back in November, December, when we're talking about this, the budget's, it's kind of like a Polaroid picture. And you shake it and you let the air get to it. And as you get, a little bit of time, it comes more into focus. And that's really what the budget is. And that's why there's all these moving numbers, because we have contract negotiation and we're estimating one number and it comes in at a different number, higher or lower. We add positions, we remove positions, and it has an impact. I'm guessing adding this position will have an impact on general fund, as Councilman Galloway's mentioning, but it's also going to have an impact on the benefits levy.
I was just going to ask that. What's the impact to the benefits levy?
I don't have the exact number, but given the fact that when we added the two employees that the two current employees who are now going to be on city insurance that didn't have it before, we went from 2085 to where we're at 2094, right? So adding this one employee, probably somewhere between 3 to 5 cents on the levy, which would push us to where we are currently for fiscal year 26 or slightly over.
So my question, if we're keeping score, adding this back in, what would be our total shortfall?
Approximately, I just had it here, approximately 820,000.
And to Councilman Cabinet's point, I don't disagree that, looking at it, this is a needed position to operate the beach. I guess I question why it was presented as a cut at the earlier meeting if it was a necessary position. And that's, I guess, my personal frustration.
Thank you. And that was my question. And you just said it better. I just didn't say it as well.
Well, and I agree, and I appreciate everything you guys say, but we can sit up here all night long and beat Gene up.
Right.
I mean, because he made a mistake. I mean, the truth is we need the position. He's admitted we need the position. He's got up and asked for it. We asked for our staff to trust us, and we just made him feel like crap for getting up to trust us. So if he needs that position, I agree with Councilman Cavanagh. We got to go by his recommendation. So he made a small mistake. I know it affects the budget, but we have to have that person for the beach.
I'm going to push back a little on that and say,
Push back, that's fine.
our job is to ask questions. I'm not trying to make Gene feel bad. I'm trying to ask questions to ensure that we understand so that when we are asked questions, we are able to give answers. So we ask hard questions of all of our staff up here, and that is something that we are allowed to do and we should be doing. And so it's not about making people feel bad. It's about understanding.
You're right. Asking a question once or making a statement once is asking questions and getting information. Repeatedly saying it to him and then somebody else saying it to him and then somebody else asking, we just need to move on. If he needs that position, we just need to figure out what to do with the budget. If he needs that position, and I think we just kind of overdid it a little bit.
Gene, on the beach, if this gentleman who's, I'm assuming it's a gentleman, is doing the janitorial, would he continue to do the janitorial if he was maintenance? And you could eliminate that part-time
He
position?
could do the janitorial work during the fall or winter months also.
We have to be careful simply because of union contracts, job descriptions, civil service requirements. I understand what you're saying completely. And that's been a topic of conversation is there a way that we could combine those? But we have to be very careful with how we discuss that and work through that we can't go into a civil service appointment or a civil service list creation, already having our mind made up that person could do that. So
Okay.
just
Thanks for
as a warning,
Thanks for clarification.
Any other questions? Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Removal of the tennis courts in Traeger Park. Recommendation: approve the removal of the tennis courts in Traeger Park to allow for future construction of anticipated pickleball courts.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Park Director Rathje.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The tennis courts in Traeger Park are in poor condition and have extensive cracking. The Parks Foundation is currently raising funds to build new pickleball courts in the same location. The tennis courts will be removed by the Parks employees during the summer months when the ground is dry and firm and when the Parks Foundation is close to achieving their fundraising goals for the project. The equipment removing the courts will have to go up the park slope and over the sidewalk along Church Street. The removal of the tennis courts in Traeger Park was approved by the Ottumwa Parks Advisory Board on January 9th, 2026.
So I assume you're anticipating a little bit of tearing up of the ground and stuff as you have to get up that hill, and so what you're implying there.
Yes, I am. And there will be some damage to the turf. We're going to build a pathway out of road rock leading down off Church Street to the courts, and then wait until it's dry and wait until the Parks Foundation has most of their funds raised before we start removing these courts. There's extensive cracking on these courts. They're just barely playable right now. So when the time is right this summer, we're going to start taking these courts out.
I think people are eagerly looking forward to the pickleball courts being made. So I'm sure this is a project that we need to do.
Are they at a point where we need to shut them down?
I walked the courts yesterday and they're really not quite that bad yet.
Okay.
And there are still people playing pickleball on them since we painted some pickleball lines. So yes, there's cracking, but they're not to the point where they need to be shut.
They're not
shut
in the
down.
playable area.
Right.
Do we know where the group that's going to put pickleball courts, they were going to raise money for it? Do we know where they're at in that process?
They are halfway to their goal. I had a meeting with them on Friday, or I attended their meeting, and they're halfway to their goal.
Nice.
And I think they're planning to present to us soon too.
Good.
Yeah, I think
And
they were
is it
initially
their
on.
plan to put concrete in or asphalt?
As of right now, they are planning on asphalt. But that could change depending on how much funding they came up with.
Any other questions or comments?
Just a few more comments. It's probably going to take a month to remove the courts and probably 50 truckloads of asphalt based on what we did with the Dan Staggs courts last year. This area has 4 courts. The Dan Staggs courts was 6. So it's probably going to take 4 to 5 weeks and 50 truckloads of asphalt.
Okay.
And how many general courts will we get out of this pickleball?
I think they're planning on 8 to 12 courts, which, as you know, pickleball courts are smaller than tennis courts, so
Yes.
you can squeeze more into the same space.
Right, thank you.
If nothing else, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Emergency repair to HVAC system at the beach, Ottumwa. Recommendation: approve the emergency repair by Winger Mechanical to the HVAC system at the beach, Ottumwa, totaling $10,750.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, there goes your budget.
Second.
Parks Director Ratchey.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Attached is an invoice for an emergency repair to the HVAC unit at the beach, Ottumwa. The HVAC system is now 12 years old and needs occasional repairs. The HVAC system stopped working properly in January because the dehumidifier unit burned out, resulting in wet and humid conditions inside the beach, Ottumwa, and condensation that caused water to drip from the ceiling in multiple locations. Winger Mechanical is the only company in this area that can repair the HVAC system at the beach.
Any questions or comments?
I just have a question. So with the new HVAC we get, will we, Cole, will we put it on a, I can't think of the word, the depreciation schedule then? Because was this on the depreciation or the CIP? I don't think it was in our CIP.
This is a budgeted repair that should come out of the operating budget
Okay.
and the line item code of equipment repairs.
Perfect. So we won't depreciate it in that schedule.
Clarification, there's money budgeted for repairs, but I don't know if this specific repair was budgeted for.
Okay.
It is not part of the CIP, no. As part of the depreciation, we don't have funded depreciation, but it should be looked at for replacement as part of the CIP when that cycle comes up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Up until this repair was made, it was almost like it was raining inside the beach with the extensive condensation.
Oh, wow.
Now you walk in the beach and there's no dripping, and it's dry. So this fixed a problem that's been going on for a long time.
I'll attest to that. When you're doing the backstroke, you have to wear your goggles.
To confirm, this is retroactive? Did I, oh, no, it's not. Okay, I thought you said that it was repaired. I was like, wait, I misunderstood that, sorry. It is retroactive.
So I guess your question is, has this been done already?
Yeah, has this been done already?
Yes, it has.
Any other questions? Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Resolution number 66, 2026, approving a professional services agreement between the City of Ottumwa and WHKS for professional services for the Water Pollution Control Facility Rochester Lift Station Force Main Replacement and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 66, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this agreement will provide for professional engineering services related to the replacement of approximately 1,700 lineal feet of force main at the Rochester Lift Station. This force main was installed in 1974, and this project was budgeted for the FY26 capital project budget. And it's just kind of an anecdote of maybe why we try to get ahead of some of these things. We had 4 breaks in that line in a 2-week period last month. So if we would have budgeted for FY25, we could have saved that money. So anyway, the project is broken out as $26,500 for a lump sum, including expenses for the actual design of the project, an estimated $5,000 for geotechnical. We'll most likely bore it, so they might want to drill some exploratory holes so they know what they're getting into with the boring contractor, and then $12,750 for construction administration, which is billed hourly. So it's just an estimated number depending on how many times they come down during construction, for a total estimated contract of $44,250. This agreement includes the following services: project management, topographic surveys, research of existing conditions, preliminary and final design, geotechnical investigations, construction administration, and special engineering services. The capital improvement budget had a balance of $572,669, and after this agreement, the fund will have a balance of $528,419, which was the starting point for my last one because I didn't do it in the right order.
Any questions or comments?
No, I was going to ask about that, but you just answered it. So
I have a question, but it's after we get done with this, okay?
Okay.
So if none, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
What are we doing on 4th Street?
We are separating the sewer around Washington and 4th, trying to get all that separated out. And it's combining just south of 4th Street. But that portion of the project is scheduled to be put back in before they can go and do the rest of Washington Street. So I think there's 3 or 4 weeks left on that. Hopefully by May 1st, we'll have that open back up again. Contractors are making good progress. We gotta
Okay, I
cross our
learned the
fingers it
detour
doesn't-
pretty good, so
Yeah, we got to cross our fingers it doesn't rain for 2 weeks straight. But
thank you.
anyway, yep, thank you.
Resolution number 67, 2026, approval of collective bargaining agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa, Iowa and the Teamsters Local 238, representing Public Works, Parks, Airport, and Cemetery employees commencing July 1, 2026, and continuing through June 30th, 2031, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 67, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Kojo.
Thank you, sir. So this first one, and then the next one is our municipal employees. So it's very similar. We had a closed session earlier this year discussing with you all about negotiation of these 2 contracts. And so this is the final. The unions have ratified both of these offers. They have signed these contracts. And so now this is to you for final approval. With Public Works, the major changes are listed on there. This would be a 5-year contract. We've rearranged the articles just to flow things better, make things flow better, fix spelling errors, things like that. Number 4 on here is that they would move to the compensation handbook. Talking about this for implementation of the handbook, the employees are going to be placed on the step coinciding with the years of service in their current position. If the increase is less than 5% over their current salary, they will see a full salary increase. If it's more than 5%, the city will step the increases at an equal rate on July 2026, January 2027, July 27, and January 28. The placement and installment increases set forth in the attached are guaranteed to be implemented by January 1 of 2028, and the COLA is 2.8%. We also are changing the shift differential for second shift from 25 cents per hour to 35 cents per hour. And then also the third shift differential from 31 cents to 45 cents per hour. Number 7 on there, Article 11 is overtime. For the purpose of defining hours worked, we will include vacation, incentive, holiday, and comp time paid counted as hours worked when we determine their weekly overtime. So anything over 40, they would get the FLSA overtime. And then the other major change that was on there is increasing the boot reimbursement to $200. The Public Works contract was $180 previously. So those are the major changes. Again, this is in line with what we had discussed previously with negotiation with this union.
Any questions or comments?
Is this for number 2 and number 3 on our agenda?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Is this for number 2 and number 3 on our agenda?
This is just number 2.
It's number 2, and then the next one is number 3, which is very
Okay, so
similar.
now we're talking about number 2.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
So were these new numbers budgeted?
Yes.
So that what we have in our budget now included all of these changes?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
If no other questions, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 68, 2026, approval of collective bargaining agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa, Iowa and the Teamsters Local 238, representing municipal employees commencing July 1, 2026 and continuing through June 30th, 2031, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 68, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Mrs. Kojo.
So this one's very similar. Most of the changes here are very similar to the other ones that were made. This group was already on the compensation handbook, so they are voting to continue to go through with that. The 2 major changes with this contract is the overtime, which is going to match the Public Works one. So when we look at hours worked, that will include pretty much all accruals except for sick pay. And then the boot allowance, for some reason, this contract had the boot allowance at $120. I don't know why, but we changed that to match the Public Works one. Those were the 2 main changes in this one. And again, these were all budgeted for. That was all put into that.
Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 69, 2026, approving employee work and telecommuting policy. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 69, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
And I'm going to go ahead and cover this one. I do want to thank Human Resource Director Kojo and then also Administrator Rath for kind of helping me get through all the different intents of this. So basically what this does is it brings in another definition in regards to remote work versus telecommuting. It makes telecommuting work approved by the administrator and within a 30-day time period. So it's meant to be more of a temporary thing put in place. Once an employee goes into beyond the 30 days, then it goes into what's considered remote work. And then there's stipulations in the policy for that to where there would be a maximum amount per week. Remotely would be 2 days a week. There are certain schedules that they would need to be communicating, and that would also need to be approved by the council. In working through this, you should have gotten a sheet that said I-4 that I placed on your in front of you, and that would be an insertion. There was a point of clarification that a council member brought to my attention, and this would be adding a paragraph that would help further define the process that would happen between the telecommuting and moving into remote work. So the intent would be to add that paragraph. It's on page 3 of the policy it'd be the second paragraph, first paragraph after the bullet. I'll put it that way. So again, that would bring into play What that transition would look like is if someone had telecommuting arrangements and they needed to go beyond the initial 30-day trial period that is outlined in the policy, they couldn't just renew that automatically. Instead, they would need to go to council and go through the process of changing that to a remote work arrangement. So that's the intent of this resolution, and I would entertain any questions or comments.
I have a few questions. So in regards to this policy or the changes in our policy, was there a situation that caused the change to the policy? Situation or problem?
So there was concern about people representing the city of Ottumwa not being available in City Hall or not being and working more outside the city than inside the city, whether it be in City Hall or inside the city of itself. So this was a concern that was brought to me by other organizations, the public itself.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what brought this about.
Okay. So there's a part that says schedule of days working at an employee's assigned office location are to be reported to the city council and posted on a website. Who does that? Does the supervisor send it to Travis, or what does that look like?
Yeah, that'd be the right procedure.
Okay. And then I also want to make sure that this policy and how we're changing it doesn't unintentionally create ADA or HIPAA compliance issues. And so I'm just wondering if medically related requests should be handled through HR than city council, so that we don't put ourselves in a situation where we could get in trouble for that.
How are those situations currently handled?
It's typically through HR. We've had a couple of these that came up before the actual policy was put into place, but what they've done is they have filed either FMLA paperwork or ADA accommodation forms, and then we have updated light duty work, or because there's a spot on the light duty where you can change their schedule or change their work location or even change who they're reporting to for that duration. But that's all been handled within HR and kept within the employee's confidential medical file.
So in those instances, then you would approve those and it doesn't go to the administrator?
No, it does. It actually goes with anything like that. We write it up in HR and then it goes to the department head to review and to make sure that they can accommodate the employee, or if it is a department head, then it goes to the city administrator for his approval, and then he does have the final approval on those. And then it goes to the employee for them to sign, because there's also an agreement for them to sign as well, knowing that, stating essentially that they're agreeing to abide by whatever those guidelines are.
Yeah, anything under the FMLA, that's standard across the country. It goes through those same steps. They apply for it, goes to the departments, and is approved through the general.
FMLA is not approved through the department.
But that it goes to the HR because it's part of the rules.
Yes, it goes through HR. But
Right.
FMLA information does not go.
Does not go to the department. Sorry, I didn't realize that was, it does not go to the department simply because it's medical information. And so when it is that medical, even department heads are not privy to that information because that's a medical confidential information.
Yeah, but what it comes down to is that point doesn't even really matter, because FMLA and ADA are going to be handled the same way, whether they work remotely or whether they work full time.
Right.
The difference is when it comes before city council, it's now public information versus internal information.
Right. If it's protected information, then we can do it in closed session, or we can do it so it protects somebody's medical
Privacy.
privacy. Yes. Sorry, I was looking for the word. I can't get it out.
So I just wanted to clarify that. So if it is an FMLA, then we as a council, whether it's 3 months, if it's over 3 months and they're still on it, that we aren't expected to see it or
No.
approve it.
No.
Okay, I just want to clarify it, and I don't know if we need to add that to policy for future, because I think we understand that, but I don't know if that's something that we do need to clarify.
I
Or
think
if,
that'd be a good idea.
yeah.
And I think we could put something in there maybe as a best practice for us in HR, that if we do have a situation that comes up like that, we can make you aware. Just maybe whether it's an email or a message that, hey, we do currently have an employee that is off on this, but it's due to medical reasons, and just leave it at that. And that, if there's concerns, we've got the paperwork and stuff within their personnel files.
Yeah.
That's easily done.
I agree. I think that would be important to put in there.
Yeah, I think so.
Those are my questions.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Resolution number 74, 2026, removing special assessments, accrued interest, and administrative fees applied to 129 East Court, contained in resolution number 199, 2024. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 74, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Second?
Planning coordinator. Rush.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
So resolution number 199, 2024 included a special assessment on the property at 129 East Court for delinquent mowing fees. The property owner had paid these fees by check after receiving the bill in 2024. These fees should not have been assessed. This resolution removes the special assessments, interest accrued, and admin fees assessed to the property taxes as a result of this mowing bill.
Any questions or comments? Okay, Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
At this time, I just remind council that we do have two resolutions on the table. I know that there's been additional information on both of these, but it would be up to council if they wanted to pull them off the table.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So then I would entertain a motion to pull whichever resolution or both that you want to come off the table.
You want an approval of a recommendation? I misunderstood what you said.
Well, I guess I would like to hear from council as to if we're pulling resolutions off the table, or are we pulling both the ones that were off the table, one of them, and if one, which one?
It would
Does that
probably
make it
be
clear?
cleaner to do each one separately anyway.
Okay.
So I would motion to remove resolution number 201-2025 from the table.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
I'm going to read it. Resolution number 201, 2025, approving and adopting a revised building and facility security policy for the city of Ottumwa. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 201, 2025.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Administrator.
All right. So towards the end of last year, looked at revising the building and facility security policy from the past that we had on file. And there was a number of reasons and benefits for this, especially with the new facilities. There was some concern with some of the information at that time when it was presented, especially with access to administrative support for all city staff. So to address that, added in a definition for administrative support, which is the internal service departments, which would provide support to employees and ensure operational efficiency by allowing personnel to focus on their core responsibilities. Those departments would include city administrator, city clerk, finance, human resources, and public information officers, basically the first floor of City Hall. And then revising authorized personnel, putting in any employee visiting City Hall for administrative support. So any employee in the city that's there to seek out HR, myself, finance, city clerk, the PIO would have the ability to access that. And then there was a question at that time also about who determines the secure areas of buildings. So there was language in there to help define that it would be the person in charge of the building, whichever director or department head that would be, and or the city administrator. And I think those were the two main or primary concerns with the policy at that time. So the language was revised in there to address those items.
I would, first off, I appreciate that. And I, just to the public, I'm looking at the policy on my phone because I forgot to print it off. So just putting that out there. But the only thing that I would identify as a potential concern, and maybe Chief Farrington can, and Administrator Rath can address this, because maybe it's not a concern. Under the definition of authorized personnel, the city council is identified as an authorized personnel, which allows us to go into any facility for authorized personnel. And when I think of like the police station or maybe waterworks, there's some areas that we probably shouldn't be in without someone there. Like, I mean, not that we would, but this would allow us to go into places that we probably shouldn't be there. So I don't know if there needs to be some change to that. And maybe I'm overthinking this. So, but I don't want to walk into the evidence room because I can. So.
Yeah, I'll let Chief Farrington. It was something that came up or thought, but I also didn't want to make that or strike that during this revision, making it seem like, oh, well, you didn't take my thoughts, so I'm just going to say, well, you can't go in there either. But I think there are some valid points to that. There are certain areas where council members can definitely visit different areas, but they maybe should be escorted or supervised. They maybe don't have the right safety gear or training to be around certain things, and could be an issue if just wandering through some areas. So I think maybe, I guess it was more on the, yes, they're authorized to be in those areas, but not like unescorted. There's maybe some concern about that. I know Councilman Reed is out at the airport quite a bit. Your way around a plane. Not everybody does. There's maybe some finessing of that.
Well, to add to what Administrator Ass said, for a councilman, if we go to any department, I think it's just common respect to be escorted. It's just to go get either an employee or somebody. So I honestly, if you talk about authorized or unauthorized, I guess I'm saying it should be us that'd be probably the most unauthorized without an escort, for many reasons. But I agree with.
Well, until a few minutes ago, I didn't know we couldn't get into anything other than that front door.
She'd have been down in the jail looking around.
Well, this policy hasn't been updated yet, so.
Well, to comment, I can't even get into the evidence room. So your card key, it's only going to allow you access into the doors to come into the PD. The armory, the evidence room, those you would not have access to, if that makes sense. So we would welcome any council person or the mayor or whoever to come into the PD. But like I said, I don't even have access to the evidence room as the chief still.
What about the simulator room?
Yeah, you can get to that one.
The what?
Simulator room.
Hey, I have been asking to do the simulator, and I have been told no multiple times.
No.
The best way to get to you is to go to your secretary at the front counter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess maybe to fix that, we could add one word and just say, or escorted members of city council and mayor.
I believe we should be escorted by somebody from the department.
That way, I think it addresses all of that.
Well, that also, I didn't want to say this out loud, but that also prevents a department from just getting beat up by a councilman all the time, just walking in and.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Bill. I think they should escort you no matter where you go.
With that one change, if the rest is acceptable.
Any other questions? Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
And then is there a motion to pull the other resolution off the table?
Make a motion to take Resolution 62-2026 off the table.
I'll second that.
Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 62, 2026, adopting a residency and response requirement policy for certain critical or essential city employees identified by the Ottumwa City Council. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 62, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
And again, this is the residency response requirement policy we talked about in our work session as well. What you see here is the changes that we made to that policy coming out of that work session. So once again, this would be resident requirement for directors or department heads only. What this does, it's stated to where they would need to, I did remove the portion of city residents because that was only going to apply to the city administrator and that's covered in his contract. So this would require department directors or department heads then to move into Wapello County or to reside in Wapello County. And the way this currently reads is that any current department director or department head that is not living in Wapello County is fine. They don't need to make any changes to their current residence unless they change primary residence or position of employment. So with that, I'd open it up for comments or questions.
I just have a quick question. Did I, and maybe I missed it because I was not at that meeting physically, but am I missing the waiver form? Was that sent out and did I miss that?
Yeah, it is.
It's on the bottom. Did I miss it?
Section 7 is the waiver authority.
No, I see section 7, but the waiver form that it mentions in section 7.
That hasn't been created yet.
No, this would authorize us to create it. There was a sample form for the remote and telecommuting. So if no other questions or comments, Chris, take the roll, please.
Could I make a comment, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to put it out there that currently at the police department, this sort of policy, I'm not sure what sort of considerations you'd have in the waiver. Typically at a law enforcement, by the time you make chief, you're very long in your career.
Sure.
This policy would basically eliminate 2 of my lieutenants from being able to take on the position of chief. They're both excellent at what they do. They have a wealth of knowledge for whatever reason, whether it be family related property or due to their spouse and their work or wherever they planted outside of Wapello County. With that being said, also later in your career, you're going to possibly have your mortgage paid off, and now you're going to look at that hardship of moving into the community. Both these individuals are great employees. They're great at their job. It would be a shame to lose that wealth of knowledge and experience to run a police department. So I hope that with this waiver, some of those considerations would be taken place.
Yeah,
or would be given.
Well, Mayor, we already okayed a couple, right? I mean, by the time you get to police chief, you're 20 years in, maybe 15 years in. I don't know why we couldn't include that into what we forgave already.
My question would be, do we actually need this policy then, or could we put it into like when we hire 4 new positions, if we're like, we as a council are thinking, okay, we want this position, we need to hire for this position, we want to have a residency requirement.
Well, let me break down the concern, and that's a good question. My concern is not that. My concern is we hire new people and we give them a good 6-figure salary, and then they don't live here and they pay taxes, buy their groceries, pay their bills, make their car payments in other towns to people. You know, I'm going to take off my councilman hat for a minute and put on my citizen hat. That's my tax money. And if I'm paying somebody $140,000, $130,000, $120,000 a year, I would like them to be into the care enough about the community that I live in. Now, I understand we're going to bring up That's how we attract talent, and that's how we do that. But I would rather have somebody who's going to be committed. And these are just my thoughts. I don't.
That's why I'm saying when we open the position up in the actual job description, we put the residency requirement. So we don't hire. So like, let's say we needed to hire for, I don't know, a position. And we're like, okay, we think that position should be, that is an important position. It's a department head. They need to live in Wapello County. So in the job description, we identified that this position, like you need to move into Wapello County. You have to live into Wapello County to be hired. You have,
But
that.
then you're leaving it to the discretion of whoever's doing the hiring, making that change. So with change of an administrator or whatever, you could be changing that description. If by putting it in policy, our citizens who we were elected by realize that we are taking them seriously when they say, why aren't these people working here? Why are we getting taxed more to pay their salaries and then they take it out of town?
Both ideas will work. I mean, whether it was Councilman Galloway's or yours, it's still going to be a policy. It's still going to be a state, because it would still have to be a policy for those positions. Because she's right, it would have to be. I mean, there would just be too much up in the air if we don't lay out the criteria. But again, I mean, I see merit and value in both what you say. I'm just saying, I've been approached, and as a taxpayer myself, that's a lot of money to spend for people who don't want to commit to your town.
If I could, just to add a couple things to think about. Bill, I understand what you're saying. If one of those lieutenants were to become chief, they would be making their car payments out of town. They'd be making their tax payment, their grocery shopping, all of that out of town as well.
Right.
The other thing would be is that if we were to do some type of waiver or something to that effect, we need to define, and it would be to help to protect us as a city, to define why that position. So whether it's if we define what an essential employee is, that's been the most common when you're looking at employment, is to define what that essential employee is, and why they have to live within that. And that's to help protect us. So that way we don't get into any type of discrimination case or claim or anything to that point.
Right, and I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. I was just talking about like going forward, like we excused a couple. So I thought maybe, by the time, how long, I don't want to ask their names. How long have they been here now, you said?
20 plus years.
One's been here 24 years and the other one's going on 30.
So they're obviously committed. I mean, I understand they live out of town, but we could probably work out something to excuse those because they've been here that long and we've already excused a couple. So going forward, we need something in place to keep that salary.
I think we would have to have a policy on who we're excusing or allowing or waiving prior to it, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I think those two lieutenants are absolutely fantastic. I adore them. They've been great to work with. But I mean, so I agree, like if we excuse them, we have to have a policy, because maybe we have firefighters that kind of sit in the same realm too. And we would also need to change this waiver authority, because it says temporary waivers. So I see what you're saying, Bill, too. And I think that if we're going to do that, then we have to protect ourselves again, we have to have some expectations on who we approve and that kind of stuff too.
Right. And we would have to do a better job of spelling it out with criteria, but I don't know. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I just have a hard time with sending wages like that out of town. I do. We struggle for jobs here. So
I think if you went to HR and explained what you wanted for this or these employees and the value that they represent, I can't imagine she wouldn't come to council and ask for permission to keep them on. Seems reasonable to me. I mean, you don't have to even use the word waiver. Just make it happen.
And you're right. I don't want to get stuck either. I don't want those two lieutenants to hear that and now feel stuck either. So, we want to be careful how we spell it out,
Wouldn't this fall into us grandfathering?
like the other two.
Not the lieutenants going to chief because they'd be
Maybe
changing
change
position.
positions. I see.
Yeah. So that's
But-
where the,
But maybe we can put something in regarding years of service.
well, I
of-
think
as
that,
when this was established, if you have more than 10 years of service, that your residency would not be affected. I don't
Barb, how
know.
would that work?
I think you can cover that in the waiver process.
Okay.
I'm really cautious on all of this. I mean,
Let's say it was 20
we're going to
years. Let's just
start
say it was
doing
20 years.
waivers and, you know, I mean, Philip, how long does it take you to get a professional engineer license? 3 years plus testing and continuing. So while, I empathize with Chief, I mean, and I agree completely, but once we start looking at, well, this waiver and well, maybe we can exclude this one and we can exclude that one, we're just opening ourselves up for liability. And that's what concerns me when I look at it from a risk perspective. And, you know, when we're hiring for department heads, almost every one of our department head positions, you've got to have advanced schooling. You have to have years of service doing that job or something similar elsewhere. And when we start pigeonholing ourselves to just, you know, we want to attract talent and we want to encourage other people to come in, and maybe, you know, somebody has been an architect for how many years and they decide that, you know what, I want to come in, I want to be an engineer or what, however those translate, we want to be able to do that. I'm very cautious on that. I mean, ultimately it's your decision, you know, I mean, Chief's not going to come to me and I'm not going to be the one to write that waiver. That's going to be your approval. Just know that the more waivers and the more exceptions that you allow, that opens yourself up for risk.
And I understand she's coming from an HR point,
Right.
which is good. You need somebody to keep you straight. But here's my concern is, say we got positions in the city that are making very good salaries. How in all good consciousness do you promote people to come to Ottumwa if you're not in Ottumwa yourself? How does that work? I mean, if we all represent, I mean, that'd be like me living in Fairfield. I want you to come to Ottumwa. I want you to shop in Ottumwa. I want you to live in
Right.
Ottumwa, but I'm
That's-
gonna live over here.
Well, and that's the intent behind this is that the people working for the city are in the city.
Right, they get skin in the game.
The people leading our city are in the city.
But the people that have put 20 some years in, don't they have skin in the game?
Yeah, and that's the delicate part we're working out right here is that's the part we're gonna have to work through, and that's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can drop the whole thing for the difficult parts.
Yeah. As far as liability and different things, we're not the first city to think this up. This isn't the first time that this has been passed. There are other cities that have policy much more restrictive than this one. And so, yeah, I guess I haven't read to see if they've went through lawsuits or anything like that because of the policy. But if they continue to have the policy, I got to think that no, they haven't.
Yeah, and I think, and not to put words in Director Kojo's mouth, but I think if I'm hearing correctly, the issue isn't having a residency policy or not having a residency policy. It's within the waivers and the arbitrary nature of a waiver. I mean, unless you have to check every box to be qualified for a waiver and you lay all those out, or you just don't have the waiver process in there. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Well, the nature of
defining it and providing more definition on some of those different things, and that we're all in agreement of that. That's more my concern.
And part of from the work session, what I took was by grandfathering those employees that are already here, and kind of to your point, Mayor, anybody that would be promoted in, they know that if they're going to take that promotion, that is a requirement of that. Or if we're hiring somebody new with that residency, it's laid out in the job description, residency is required, or the job ad. And so I think my recommendation would just be remove section 7, renumber 8, 9, 10 up. If this is what you want to have is a residency policy, then it hits what you're saying as far as future salaries stay here or within the county at least.
So what if we just, and I'm just bringing up an idea, what would this look like? What if we just do it going forward? Our current employees who have already here, what if we just started now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is agree with that. That's what was revised in here was anybody going forward, but just remove that waiver part because that's the potential arbitrary.
But even
nature
if
of
we
things.
laid this same exact policy in place and moved forward with everybody who's hired in the future, his lieutenants are okay, correct? Because now they're under.
Could we
Not the way
just
it's written.
remove the ones, because wasn't there a section in there that said, future promotions?
Yeah.
Could we just remove
So,
that?
yeah, we'd change it to where any new employee
Any employee hired after X date
after, yeah.
would be.
Because by the time they're getting promoted, we've already accepted the terms of the employment, so that would be.
Right. So yeah, if we want to do
Chief,
that.
what's that sound
then,
like?
Yeah, it would change to where any new employee, any new director head or department head.
Any employee hired after X date into a
Right.
department head role,
Right.
not counting
promoted.
promotions.
So that would
Yes.
grandfather in any
Yeah.
lieutenants promoted or whatever else.
So current employees be protected. Are you planning on retiring?
So
I hope not.
it sounds like we have a consensus to change that to where now it would be moving forward from, and then we'd need to pick a date, like if it's today or beginning
Whenever
of fiscal
we,
year.
whenever we approve it.
Yeah. On approval. So then any new employee not currently employed by City of Ottumwa, that is department head or director.
Okay, so it's point of order, because you're making changes, you have to offer that, either offer that as amendment or place it back on the table, redo everything and come back.
I'm going to offer it as an amendment, but right
Okay.
now I'm refocusing discussion. I'll put it that way. So then,
But the
yeah,
way we have it
that's-
laid out, is everybody okay with that?
What
So-
you need, what you need to do is the mayor is asking for a motion to amend as the language that he put forward.
So moved.
He's tired.
Do we have a second?
Do I need to restate
Restate it.
it? So the change would be that any current employees with the City of Ottumwa would not be affected by the residency policy. This would go into effect for any new employee coming into a department head or director position.
And they'd have to be in the county.
They'd have to be in the county.
I'll second it.
Any other clarification?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm just
I
noticing
wanna
that,
get it right.
that the numbering is off in this policy here. There's no
Uh-huh.
3. And
That's because that was yours. That was the city.
no, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I mean, you'd want to renumber that, and then a clarification on that waiver if you wanted to amend that to remove the Section 7 waiver authority.
Right.
And I want to add in there, I'm still like a firm believer, even currently, they should. But since it wasn't a term of their employment, you got to be fair.
Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that if Administrator Rath has that in front of him and has the sections that the resolution or the policy in whole be read so that everybody knows what they're voting on.
Like, so with the renumbering, and also, I guess, do we want to renumber it, which I'm guessing we do, and then because of how we've changed it, do we want to remove the waiver?
I only ask because I don't know what you're voting on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can read through it if you want. Maybe. My eyes are
I
bugging
just
on me.
need to figure out where the change is occurring that you're.
We need to take
Suggesting.
roll for the amendment if you would like.
Well,
me.
no, but I think
But
there's
you want him
more
to read it
amendments
first?
needed.
Clarify the amendment.
Yeah. So like, I can read it. So section 1 says covered positions. And then it says essential employees as identified as department directors or department heads shall be subject to the distance requirement set forth. And that should actually say, wait,
That's correct.
okay. Section 2, residency or distance requirement within Wapello County, Iowa.
Correct.
So the next one is section 4, but it should actually be labeled section
Section
3, non-essential employees, except as provided otherwise pursuant to a collective bargaining agreement or employment contract. Employees not identified as critical or essential under this policy are not required to reside within the city of Ottumwa or any specific distance of the city. Residency within the city is encouraged but not required. We're not changing that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now this is the section. Now this is section 4, not 5. Definition of primary residence. For purposes of this policy, primary residence means the place where an employee maintains their principal domicile and to which the employee intends to return after periods of absence. Factors that may be considered include but not limited voter registration, driver's license, or other state identified identification address, homestead tax status, utility bill address, federal or state income tax address, motor vehicle registration address, lease or property ownership records, and other indicative of domicile. No single factor shall be determinate, and the city may consider the totality of circumstances when determining an employee primary residency. Are you all still awake? Okay. Section 5 now, it was section 6, emergency response expectations. Employees subject to this policy must remain reasonably available to respond to emergencies, operational needs, or callbacks, and must be able to report to their assigned work location within the response time described in this policy. Now, section 7, waiver authority. It should be section 6 if it's kept. The city council may grant temporary waivers of the residency or distance requirement in cases involving recruitment needs, hardships, or other circumstances deemed appropriate by the city council. Human resources is to provide an update to the personnel policy with the proper waiver form and procedure to be used for the city council approval. So is that a section we're keeping with the changes that we've made?
My understanding is that is being removed.
That was the recommendation, but my recommendation, council has not moved that yet.
Okay, so we'll go on and I guess come back. So section 8, which is actually section 7, unless the section above is removed, then it would be 6. Current department directors or department heads who are not in compliance with the requirements of this policy shall not be required to meet these requirements unless their primary residence or position of employment changes from their current residency or employment title. So this is the one we're changing to say, go.
Compliance with these requirements shall not be required to meet. So I think you could state current department directors or department heads who are not in compliance with the requirements of this policy shall not be required to meet these requirements. Period.
That sounds very clunky.
I do think
I'm just trying to make my sheet easy.
if their primary residence changes, like if they're moving for whatever other reason, it would make sense they would move into the county.
Okay.
True.
So we're keeping primary residency, but we're removing position of employment changes from their current residence, right?
I believe so.
Well, yeah, position of employment changes. Yeah, that the whole rest of that doesn't need to be there.
Right.
Okay.
So shall not be required to meet these requirements unless their primary residence changes.
Okay, unless their primary residence changes. Okay. Yep.
From the current, yeah.
From their current residence. Okay. And then the last one is enforcement. Failure to comply with the requirement of this policy may result in disciplinary action consistent with city personnel policies and applicable law. And then the last one, which would be 9, effective date, effective immediately upon adoption. So now we just have to decide if the waiver is going to be kept or removed.
Well, my understanding with the change in how current department directors or department heads are not affected, unless they change their residence, I don't see a point for the whole waiver.
We probably should dump the waiver because 5 million different things could be a waiver we would have to consider.
So it sounds
So I
like
think you
the
could
waiver
eliminate
will
that.
be removed, which would mean that section compliance for current employees would be 6.
Yep.
Section for enforcement would be 7. And then that last section would be 8. So those would be the amendments needed.
So yeah. So I'm going to ask for a motion again on those amendments
Okay.
based on their clarified. So is there a motion to approve the amendments as stated?
I move to make a motion to approve as stated.
Sure. We have a motion, don't we have to second it?
Yeah, let me get the second to the motion if we have it, and then I'll open it up.
We have a second.
We have a
No
second?
You need a second.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. So is there any comments from the public? And I'll ask you to come forward.
Can you come?
Can you come up to the, sorry. We'll do it all official, give you the 3 minutes and everything.
Katie Howard, 1111 Hamilton. You're talking about grandfathering in a position, okay? Or rather, a person holding a position. But if that person changes position in the county, i.e. lieutenant becomes a chief, are you grandfathering in the person or their current?
We're grandfathering in every current city employee.
Okay, so if they change their residence, you're saying they have to come in compliance with the policy. So if they change their position, do they have to come in? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Yep.
Rick Bick, 1204 North Wapello. I've been listening to all this and I agree with a lot of what all of you are saying, except for one area. I think as you're talking waivers and all this other stuff, since I do a lot of work with the police department, I think you need to make an exception for the police department because all you guys have neighbors and do things. They have the potential of having a neighbor that they take to jail every other week. So I think if you're going to do this, that's the one area where you need an exception. Okay.
And I will say to that actually is one of the reasons why I kept it, or I'm recommending Wapello County and not City of Ottumwa. So it does give police officers, if they're moving into that, or if they move into a chief position and they decide to change residence, that they have the entire county to choose from, not the city. Any other questions or comments?
I'm going to support it, but I still struggle because I don't know, when you look at city hall leadership and you think they're doing all these projects to bring people to Ottumwa and don't. I just struggle with that. With our taxpayer money, I'm going to support it because that's what we've discussed. And I think it's fair because it wasn't a point of their employment. I just wanted people to know how I felt.
Sure. If nothing else, Chris, would you take the roll, please?
This is on the amendment.
This is on the
Just
amendment.
the amendment, yes.
Councilman Galloway,
Just on the amendment, yes.
Councilman Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilman Dupre,
Yes.
Councilman Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilman Reed.
Yes.
So now with the amendment and the new resolution, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. So with that, this is a public forum, and so I give anybody an opportunity to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. Lord help you. I'm not going to give you much time. All right, moving on. With that, I would open up to City Council for any report or communications that you'd like to give to the public.
I just need to let everyone know on April 11th at 7 o'clock at the Hotel Ottumwa is Battle of the Brushes.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
April 11th, Hotel Ottumwa, Battle of the Brushes, 7 p.m. at Hotel Ottumwa. It's a great event. Come see it. Follow us on Facebook or go look it up on Facebook to learn more.
It's not hairbrushes, is it?
No. Battle of the Brushes.
Chief Barrington, when are we celebrating our dispatchers? What week? Was it the 17th?
I think it's the 17th at 11.
So everybody on the 17th, be thinking of your dispatchers, praying for your dispatchers. Earlier today, I'll add this real quick so it'll make it longer, but that really is a hard job. That really is a tough job. They're, not only are they handling multiple calls as an officer, a fireman, or EMS, they're your lifeline. They're your only wire to the real world. So
And
Is that before the council meeting on the 17th?
there's no council.
There's
That's
no council meeting on
It's
the
11 to
17th.
1.
11 to 1, thanks.
Jean's going to be doing tree planting whenever the trees get in. Hopefully on Arbor Day, he's looking for volunteers from the Ottumwa High School and Job Corps.
That's a great lead in for the two proclamations that were on the consent agenda, and the way that reason that they were pulled off the consent agenda is with new policy. Those simply have to just bring them to the mayor, and then the mayor, either approves or not approves and signs them, and they don't have to go to council. So with that, I'm going to talk about Arbor Day because that's one of the proclamations, which I am happy to sign. It is on April 24th of this year. Brief history. First Arbor Day ever was April 10th of 1872. It started in the state of Nebraska, where they wanted to plant trees for windbreaks and future building material. And on the first Arbor Day, they planted 1 million trees on that day. So that's where Arbor Day first started. And now it became a national recognized holiday by President Nixon in 1970. My history's right. The other proclamation had to do with Keep Iowa Beautiful proclamation. And this pairs beautifully with the Make Ottumwa Shine. And Make Ottumwa Shine is April 22nd through 25th. You can go on the Ottumwa website and sign up for certain areas for your group or individual to clean up those areas. I would encourage everybody to do that. And then in order to do that, you'd want to pick up some purple bags. My understanding is they're available in the planning department. Is that correct? Okay. And where else? And at the recycling center. Okay. So with those two, those are the two proclamations that were on the consent agenda. Those will be signed. But I did want to point those out and point the importance that they both have for our community, and also thank Parks Director Ratchie for getting the grant to bring, I believe, 40 trees into our community for Arbor Day. So
what year was 1 million trees planted?
1872.
Wow.
So they planted 1 million trees in one day. Like, so they weren't hauled there. So weren't they just already planted? And if they weren't, where'd they come from?
My understanding is they planted saplings, and now there's a Nebraska forest. Now, I don't know if that was because of Arbor Day, but there is a Nebraska forest in the middle of a desert. So there you go. That's some
Highway
Nebraska
6
history.
across Nebraska has all the trees planted for windbreak.
Yep.
Highway 6.
1 million trees in one day.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Chris, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
I know. They did amazing things.